Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. With the Season 4 Reloaded update recently, they did go through and they adjusted some of the perk meta within Warzone now. A couple of the main meta perks did see some adjustments, some buffs and some nerfs, and it's been a while since we've talked about the overall perk meta here in Warzone. And so today I wanted to go through and break down what you want to be looking for when you are selecting your perks. There's a lot of different routes you could take depending on your playstyle, what you really value in gameplay, but I wanted to go through each different tier, perk 1, perk 2, perk 3, and really highlight these standouts from each category again, like I said, since we haven't done so in some time. So first up here in perk 1, there's a couple of really solid options here. First up with veteran, giving you the reduced negative effects for some equipment. It also gives you better flinch and holding breath duration. It also makes you immune to grenadier, which is like the slowed down impact of grenades there. Immune to snapshots, which do get spammed a decent bit, and you're more resistant to flash, gas movement, and shock negative effects. This can be a really good perk. It's just a very defensive perk in a sense, right? So you have to rely on enemies using grenadier, using snapshots, using flashes and whatnot for this to be useful. And as it stands, while those are things that you'll find in game here and there, they're not as constant as some other things happening in game. So this is a viable one, but it's not one that really truly stands out in this category, in my opinion. Reflexes is honestly pretty solid, and they actually just buffed this one ever so slightly for a longer delay. It's like 0.1 seconds, but it's something that can help as far as triggered explosives go. So when a Betty pops or when a Claymore pops, whatever the case is, right, it is gonna end up having that slight delay, so you're gonna be able to move past it or move away from it before it fully detonates, which can 100% save your armor, save your health a ton. So this is one that is absolutely very, very useful right now, and one that I would recommend, especially if you're someone who oftentimes runs into explosives consistently. This one is paired really well with Bomb Squad, which we'll talk about obviously as we get into perk 2 there. Low profile, not one that's really going to be all that useful. You move quickly, or move more quickly rather, when you're crouched and prone. Enemies that kill you do not have death markers for their allies. It's really not something that's going to come into execution much or into application much. It's getting highlighted when you're knocked or when you're crouching around or prone. Not fantastic there, because you're going to be running around more often than not in this game. Grenadier's decent as well. They did also buff this one a tad bit. Equipment is now deployed faster. Then also health regeneration delay from explosives reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds there for what it's worth. But with this, explosive damage does slow enemy health regen and movement speed. And then you can obviously see where you're throwing your equipment, and you can throw it further as well. So this one also pretty useful, although I think it really stands out the most as a benefit of specialist. Individually, I think it is sort of outclassed by a few other options here. Reflexes, and then as we get down to survivor as well. Mountaineer, I'd love to use this as someone who personally is kind of prone to fall damage. I would love to have protection from this, but in this game, it just is not protecting you all that much. The increase that it's giving you, even after it was buffed a while back, is just not super useful right now. So this one is nothing like what it was last year in MW3 Warzone. I wish they would make a substantial buff to this so it would actually be a truly competitive choice here, but for now the reward just isn't worth missing out on benefits of one of the other perks here. Scavenger did actually see a nerf. It's going to give you less money now when you end up using this. Obviously you start out with maximum reserve ammo for your primary weapon, so it's kind of functioning as fully loaded. Resupply ammo, equipment, plates, and cash from dead enemies. So it can have its use, but also so does looting, right? Like this is maybe a perk you'd want to have on a second loadout that you grab late game when you're done looting for the most part, or as like that fully loaded option on a secondary loadout that you're getting when you're coming back from the gulag or something. But as a base starter perk, again, not something that is wildly beneficial compared to some of these other choices. I personally run survivor here in perk 1. This is my go-to. You regen health more quickly, which is a huge deal. Your allies revive you faster as well, which is a huge deal. Health regen begins after 4 seconds in this case, so just being able to heal up faster naturally is a big deal, because this is a situation where you can out health enemies in a gunfight rather than straight up just outgunning them as well. So with the TTK as it is right now, the more health the merrier in survivor is a big deal there. Also, that faster revive is so clutch in certain situations, so I'm definitely a big fan of that. But really your main standouts here ultimately are probably going to be survivor, grenadier, and reflexes as the main three, with veteran being sort of that off meta choice that is decent but not standing out as much as the aforementioned options. As we get into perk 2 and perk 3 here as well, quick reminder, if you guys enjoy enjoy the video, you find the info helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Much love to everyone who does take the time to do so. And if you're new to the channel, you want to make sure that each and every day you are in the know for everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Now, Perk 2 is probably the most competitive category. I don't know, Perk 2 and Perk 3 are both super competitive. There are so many good choices here depending on your play style and what you value the most. Reactive armor was just updated here with season 4 reloaded as well. With this now regenerates up to full armor over the course of 35 seconds, so it does take a decent amount of time to get that full armor back, but you don't always have to worry about looting plates. So again, late game situation, this is something that can actually be really convenient to have if you're grabbing that second loadout in those late zones, or you're coming back from a gulag. You don't want to have to worry too much about looting. This is a really good choice. You can regen up to 100% of your maximum armor if you have not taken damage in the last 5 seconds. So as you're gearing up for late zones, rotating out, this can be a really good choice. I think again, it's one that benefits the most as a bonus for specialist, but individually it has its use cases for sure. With Quartermaster, you recharge equipment over 60 seconds. It's a pretty slow recharge as opposed to what it's been in the past. It's good, but again, as a part of specialist, it's a really nice benefit to have. Individually, I think there are stronger choices here, like for instance, Bomb Squad. Reduce incoming explosive and fire damage by 45%. You can spot enemy equipment and kill streaks, so they highlight red. That's obviously huge. You can hack equipment. You can ADS to highlight it for your teammates. It is so beneficial right now, especially because there's so much spam with mines and betties and all sorts of stuff like that. This is something that I've basically been forced to run because so many people spam those types of equipment now, that when I'm trying to push things, I find myself constantly pushing into a room and there's 2 betties and I'm knocked now, or I'm having to back off and heal up and plate up, and then the enemies are pushing me. It's just a bad situation to be in. That reduced damage here that you take is so important, so I'm a big fan of that. Tracker used to be my go-to, but unfortunately they hard nerfed this with season 4 reloaded. The total marks that you get that's like combat scout was reduced from 5 to 1. Then also the duration in which you actually see footsteps was reduced as well. So this is still a nice thing to have. Like auto pinging your enemies just one time is really convenient, and seeing those footsteps is really convenient, but it's not as strong as it was before. And for that reason, I think you are benefited more by using something like Bomb Squad, perhaps reactive armor in those situations. It's not a bad option by any means. You could use this and it'll be beneficial, but it's not a clear definitive meta choice like it was before the update. Sprinter, solid. You have indefinite tack sprints. You can tack sprint forever. I do like this for movement based stuff, and obviously if you focus heavy on that and you're always running and gunning, you want that infinite tack sprint, this is one you obviously want to use as a specialist bonus. Really convenient to have. Cold-blooded also has its uses. Undetectable by AI targeting and thermal optics, which are spammed a decent bit. Prevents enemies from using recon perks and the effects of that. It also makes you immune to the tracker marks, although those are nerfed now, so that's not as beneficial. Tracker footprints, immunity to scrambler and EMP, then will not trigger alertness. So if you like the stealthy play style, this is something that would work. Overall, again, something that's going to stand out more as a benefit to specialist. And then lastly, quick fix. Really good option here too. Every time you get an elimination or you start inserting armor plates, it starts regenning, so you can manually force that right away. You can insert armor plates one-handed as well and kind of hip fire. Sometimes that's beneficial, sometimes it throws you off, right? And health regen triggers on gun melee, and then also throwing knife kills as well. So if you want to be in full control of your healing at all times, this is a huge thing as well. You can pair this nicely with Survivor and have great health regen capability in a match. So really, Perk 2, there are so many good choices between reactive armor, Bomb Squad, Tracker being decent, Sprinter being decent, Quick Fix as well. I think Quick Fix and Bomb Squad are going to be the main 2 standouts going forward. And then Perk 3 is also really competitive here. I default towards Gung Ho simply because the ability to reload while tack sprinting is crucial. Being able to reload whenever I want, regardless of the position I'm in, whether I'm running, crouching, holding up, waiting to push, I want that full control of my reload and my gameplay. Being limited to just basic sprint or having to jump around and play awkward just to get a reload off, especially if you're using a weapon that's got a slower reload, not that beneficial. So that ability to reload no matter what, especially during tack sprinting, is clutch to gameplay in my opinion. So that's got to be a mainstay, and I think that's one of the stronger options here. Resolute taking damage from gunfire gives you a slight movement speed boost. Decent, but it's a perk that's only usable when you're taking damage. So that does, in my opinion, knock it down a tier because it's such a defensive perk. has its use cases for sure, but I don't think it stands out as a globally beneficial perk like some of these other ones do. Ghost, obviously a great choice here, super strong, especially if you are playing into that stealth gameplay. If you're not using a gun with a suppressor, you're kind of negating the effects of Ghost a lot of the time, but if you're fully suppressed on your primary and your secondary, using this only adds to the stealth, being undetectable by enemy radar pings when you're moving. So obviously you can't camp and sit still, but this is a super strong perk and one that obviously a lot of people default to. Even though it's super annoying to run into, objectively it's a good one to use. Bird's Eye, pretty strong too. UAVs you call in are 25% larger and show the heading of the enemy, so it gives you the directional arrow of where they're looking and where they're moving. Players with Ghost do not show that heading, but you still counter Ghost here, which is huge because that one is spammed a lot. It also that increase applies to UAV kill streaks, towers, and the portable radar. So this is a really good one, but obviously it's only in effect when you're buying UAVs. So the rest of the time it's not going to be as useful. You got to have that consistent cash to make this worthwhile. So it's definitely knocked down a tier because of that, but when you are using it, it's definitely very strong. Tempered, a hugely beneficial one here, only needing 2 plates instead of 3 to get max health, so you have less time plating up. Insanely beneficial. You pair this with quick fix, you get that health regen going, you're set. Like, that's a really strong combination there. And then alertness, sense when enemies are nearby, it tells you when you're being aimed at by an enemy. High alert basically there. More defensive, but also very useful for the information. Really the main standouts here being gung-ho, Ghost, tempered, and alertness. That is a really competitive category and really comes down to what you value the most in your gameplay for your play style. But that's kind of where I'm leaning towards some of the perk updates now. Survivor, Bomb Squad, gung-ho typically being my main go-to perk setup, but also running something like Survivor, Bomb Squad, and Tempered is something I switched to here and there, and I really like that as well. But we've got a really strong perk meta after they made some of these updates and adjustments here. If you've got a different perk setup you love using, feel free to drop that down in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. And of course, if you're new here on your way out, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and help get us one step closer to hitting 1 million subs. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.